Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastomavid Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We'll chant Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, verses 1 to 5.
Shri Bhagavanuvacha Urdhvamulamadashakham Ashvatham Prahuravyayam Chandamsi yasya parnani Yastam Veda Savedavid Adhaschordhvam prasrutastasya shakaha Guna pravruddha vishaya pravalaha Adhascha mulanyanu Karmanubandhini manushya न रूपमस्येह ततोपलभ्यते नान्तो न चादिर्न च सम्प्रतिष्ठा अश्वत्थमेनं सुविरूढमूलम् असङ्गशस्त्रेण दृढेन चित्वा ततः पदं तत्परिमार्गितव्यम् यस्मिन् गता न निवर्तन्ति भूयः तमेव चाद्यं पुरुषं प्रपद्ये यतः प्रवृत्तिः प्रसृता पुराणी निर्मानमोहाजितसङ्गदोषाः अध्यात्मनित्या विनिवृद्धकामाः द्वन्द्वैर्विमुक्ता सुखदुःखसंज्ञैः गच्छन्त्यमूढा पदमव्ययं तत्.
This 15th chapter, which is entitled as Purushottama Yoga, the Yoga of Supreme Being, which is a very small chapter. It has only about 20 shlokas, but a very important shloka, very important chapter. And we have, seen up to shloka number 3. So I have also sent the summary in the group. So some of you might have not read that before coming to the class. So for the benefit of everyone, just a small summary of what we have seen so far. In the beginning, Sri Krishna gives the example of a tree, Ashwatha tree, called people tree in English, which is compared with samsara. So in the first shloka and second shloka, Sri Krishna is giving the description of this samsara. Ashwatha means that which does not remain the same, which is constantly changing. And in constantly changing, it continues to exist. That is the word Ashwatha meaning of the word Ashwatha. So this tree is compared with our samsara. And Sri Krishna says, this is actually an example taken from Upanishad. So the root, the primary root of the tree, which is not seen, you only see the trunk and the branches and the leaves. You don't see the root, the primary root. So that root which is not seen is actually the cause. From that only this tree has come about. So similarly, we see this world, we get entangled in this world and we are totally lost being completely unaware of the reality, the substratum called as Brahman, which is the cause of this universe. So he says, Urdhva Moolam, the primary root of a tree is compared with Brahman, which is the Moolam for this world. So, what is the cause of this universe? The cause of this universe is Brahman, which is the Nimitta Karanam, intelligent cause, and Upadana Karanam, the material cause. The material cause for this world is Maya, Maya Shakti, which is the inherent Shakti in Brahman. When we talk about Brahman with Maya Shakti, we use another word called Ishvara. So Ishvara is Brahman plus Maya. And this Maya is the material cause and which has spread out in this universe as the Sukshma and Stula Prapancha. And all the activities and everything, which he compares with the branches. And the leaves are the conditioned consciousness. When the pure consciousness, Brahman, manifests through our thoughts, then we say, I know, which is the conditioned consciousness. So, which is what is called as Vedas here. So, he says the leaves are the Vedas, branches are the activities, or the Stula and Sukshma Prapancha. And Veda means knowledge. What knowledge? The conditioned knowledge. All the knowing through our senses, mind, intellect in this world are all conditioned consciousness, which is what he called as Vedas and which is what is equated with the leaves. Also, leaves sustain the tree. Therefore, leaves are also called as or compared with Karma Kanda, the rituals. Because the rituals are done mainly to fulfill the desires. But actually, it is given to fulfill the desire and rise above the desire. But unfortunately, we keep doing the rituals and fulfilling our desires and get stuck in the world desiring more and more. So thus this samsaric tree is sustained by the rituals. Hence, the leaves are also compared with Karmakanda. So, Brahman is compared with the primary root and branches to the activities are the Stula Sukshma Prapancha world and then leads to conditioned consciousness or to the rituals. And these branches, they spread above and below, nourished by gunas. When the sattvic guna supports the activity, it helps promoting us to evolve. If it is rajas, then we stay put in the middle. If it is tamas, then we devolve. So roots going up, down, middle, meaning, sorry, not roots, branches, meaning our activities propelled by the gunas, nourished by the gunas, now can be evolutionary or devolutionary or stagnant. So that he says, and then he says, buds are the sense objects. From the buds, the branches shoot out. He says, when we see the senses, sense objects, with our senses, organs of perception, we develop desires. And the desires propel us to activities. So branches were compared with activities. So the activities come out because of the sense objects from the buds. So he says buds are the sense objects from which the branches shoot out, the activities come out. Such activities produce vasanas. Right? Ragadvesha vasanas come from such activities. This we have studied in the chronology of action portion in the book Vedanta Treatise. From vasana comes thought, from thought comes desire, from desire comes action, and from action again comes vasanas. If our actions were propelled by desires, vasanas. So therefore, our actions which were drawn by the perception of the sense objects, propelled by the desires, creates more vasanas, which are compared to the secondary roots, which cling on to the earth and hold the whole tree together. Like that, this whole samsaric cycle, punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, the whole thing continues because of this vasanas created thus. This is what he explains in shloka number 1 and 2. And in 3 he says, now when you start analyzing this tree, this samsara, when you start focusing on this tree, question to understand about it, now you will find that it is impossible to know its nature in its entirety. The beginning is not known, the end is not known. When the beginning and end is not known, how can you decipher the middle? So that's what he says. Its form is not known, its swarupa is not known. It seems beginningless and endless. It seems beginningless and endless because it is actually coming from vasanas which are beginningless and endless. Which is actually coming from what? Brahman, just beginningless, endless. So, you cannot say the world begins here, ends there. You cannot say the world began at this time, ends at this time. Time and space and causation are integral part of the world. So when you say time began at this time, you're putting time before time. You can't put time before time. Similarly, when you say time ends at so-and-so time, you can't say that. Because after that, what is there? So before and after also nothing but the concept of time. So, therefore, the more you start thinking about it, it is impossible to understand it. So that's what he's saying. We are thinking that we know many things, but when we actually probe, we don't know. Nothing we know. We keep saying we know everything, but do we really know? So anything for that matter, even if you're a PhD in any subject, and you start probing deeply, you will come to the same conclusion. I don't know. So he says, its form is not perceived here as such. It's not possible for the jiva, the individual, with the senses, mind and intellect. It is impossible to understand. So neither its end nor origin nor clear foundation. It's not known whether the tree came first or the seed came first, chicken came first or the egg came first, who's my father's first father. We don't know. We do Shraddh. When we do Shraddh, you will remember up to 3 generations maybe. Before that, we don't know. So, where did it all begin? How did it all, how is it all going to end? No idea. We are in total ignorance. And that's what he says. This is the samsara. Right? You seem to be thinking that you know many things, but you don't know. Right? So, he says, its form is not perceived here as such, neither its end nor origin, nor clear foundation. Now, instead of going into too much of analysis about this world, what you need to do is develop vairagya, understanding that this is mithya, it is not satya, it itself is dependent on the sat, which is Brahman. So you should understand that everything in this universe is constantly changing, and by constantly changing, it seems to exist. So it doesn't fit into the definition of reality. Reality is that which existed in the past, continues to exist now, and will exist in future. Then this is not the case with the world. So then it is dependent. not independent. So why should I become dependent on this thing that is dependent? I rather depend on the independent, isn't it? Now, if I have to go to a pujari, who will get the food from Bhagavan for me? Why can't I directly go to Bhagavan? Why should I go through this route? So I should understand this. Through inquiry, with experience, I, instead of going into why this is happening, what is happening, because when you probe, what do we say? Why are you like this? Why are you having, certain things happening in your life? You listen to so many stories. This morning also somebody said, some true story apparently happened in America. One guy, when he was 28, he was wrongly convicted for a crime, and he spent about 35 years in the jail. And he was released after 35 years because now they have found out who the real criminal is. Only when they caught him for some other crime, he confessed for that also. This fellow, at the age of 28, he went to jail, spent 35 years of his life, all youth, young life gone. Now, what is the explanation for this? It's a karma. Now, past karma. You will gulp it down. But if you probe that past karma, if I had done then how did that happen? Another past, another past, another past. You'll keep going. You will never be happy. You will never be satisfied. So, Vedanta says, listen, we have no answer to this. We say it is beginningless. You understand? It is when you probe your dream, you say, I'm 40 years old, 50 years old. Now that means what? The dream has existed for 50 years. And then your father is there, mother is there, grandfather, and all that stuff. When you calculate, then, they say this was dug up, and that was dug up means it was existing 5,000 years ago. And then you will count for eternity. But when you wake up, the dream lasted not more than maybe a few seconds or minutes. Now, as long as you were in the dream, you wouldn't know this. So you will be counting eternity. So, what you have to do, instead of going into trying to understand and catch its full nature, understanding its swarupa, its intellectual understanding that it's constantly changing and it's dependent on Brahman, you should develop what is called as vairagya and shift your attention and energy towards Brahman. That's all he says. Cut asunder. Cut means what? Cut it with what sword? The sword of discrimination, which brings about detachment. Only with viveka you develop vairagya. You understand? So, with the shastric knowledge, when you understand this, you reduce your dependence upon the world and become more dependent upon the reality, the truth, the shastra, and all the other things that will help you to be in it. You understand? Change your lifestyle in such a way. That's all he's saying. So cut asunder this firmly rooted Ashwatha tree. So much of water has flown. So it's now too strong. His imagination is too strong. Some people imagine that they have some disease. Now it's too strong because they've been doing it for so many years. So they'll feel that they're having this symptom, this and that. Now when the doctor has diagnosed and all possible equipment is made you to enter and come out, and everything says there's nothing wrong with this fellow. But he will not believe. So what he has to do? He'll give you a placebo and he'll say, this is the dosage, you take it. Then you'll say, I'm getting better, feeling better. What to do? Because you're feeling better. Take it, good. So that's what he's saying. So this is firmly rooted, this imagination, that you are this individual, you are this parent, the whole thing started. The whole thing is what? This delusion that you are in the world. What is he trying to explain? From chapter 7, this is what is going on. What is that they are saying? You are not in the world is in you. When you say you are in the world, the you is with small y. What Vedanta says, when Vedanta says world is in you, it is with capital Y. You understand? World has emerged from you, exists in you, dissolves you. So, as you begin to appreciate this, with a discriminating ability, you cut this, asanga shastrena dridena chitva. You slowly reduce your mental dependence upon them. You understand? That mental dependence, when you reduce, it's called vairagya. And why you are reducing? Because that mental focus now shifts to Brahman. As it shifts to Brahman, they don't become important for you. It's not that you hate that. It's not important anymore. Whether the gold rate has gone up or come down, or what is happening in the world, you may know these things generally, but that too much involvement and that exaggerated value you had placed for the world, because of which you were imagining and suffering and going through all the stress and strain, now you have to cut by this understanding. That's all it is. Having cut as under this firmly rooted Ashwatha tree, giant fig tree, with the strong acts of non-attachment. Remember, non-attachment means the other side of non-attachment is knowledge. Without knowledge, no non-attachment will come. When you get the knowledge of the higher, you get detached from the lower. It is impossible to become detached from the lower without getting attached to the higher. That's all he says. And once this is done, with that non-attachment, you have to intensify your identification with the higher, the pursuit of the higher. That he mentions in the shloka number 4. So let's get on to shloka number 4.
ततः पदं तत्परिमार्गितव्यं यस्मिन् गता न निवर्तन्ति भूयः तमेव चाद्यं पुरुषं प्रपद्ये यतः प्रवृत्तिः प्रसृता पुराणी.
Then that goal should be sought. Tatap padam tat parimargitavyam. Yasmin gata na nivartanti bhuyaha. Without having gone, they do not return again. Once you have reached that goal, there is no question of returning back. That's what he says. After developing detachment from the world, you have to seek that goal, and when you reach that goal, thereafter you don't fall into samsara again. And then he says, Tameva chadyam purusham prapadye. Prapadye means refuge, means surrender. In Vaishnava Sampradaya, they talk about prapadye a lot. You understand? So, prapadye means surrendering. Now, remember, whenever we say surrender, surrendering the ego, not the intellect. When the intellect understands the limitations of the ego and the limitations of its intellect, of itself, it surrenders to the total plan. and develops acceptance, drops mamatvam. You understand? So that is what he's saying. Tameva cha adyam purusham prapadye. Means what? I seek refuge in that primeval Purusha, supreme being. Yata pravritti prasrita purani. That supreme being alone, wherefrom streamed forth ancient activities. Ancient activities means all this whole thing, the world, everything which has been seemingly existing for eternity has that only. So this is all he's saying. So what he's saying here is, once having made sure that you have developed vairagya, you have to continue the pursuit of the self, Brahman, deeply. So you have to get into Brahma Vichara deeply. Instead of wasting your time into analyzing the world. It's not worth it. By doing all that, you may increase your acquisitions by another few more millions. Right? But all this is useless. When I understand all that come under one category, Swamiji very nicely summarizes in the book Vedanta Treatise. He calls them all as trifle. And he just uses one adjective for them. It's called precious trifle. They are precious to you now, but when you analyze, they are actually trifle. So once you know it's trifle, and it seems precious, that actually what is precious is the substratum upon which this world is superimposed. That is precious. The priorities change. You understand? Then you become a yukta. So that's what he's saying. Then you must seek that goal. Till then you will be thinking of artha, kama, dharma as the goal. Your goals, your priorities, everything different. Completely different. We are studying this in the 3rd chapter in our Sunday class. He says, don't disturb them. Don't go tell them, "Arey yaar, useless fellows, where are you wasting your time?" Don't tell all that. Should never do that. Let them continue. Remember that example we discussed. The raw fruit doesn't get detached from the tree. It has to become ripened. As it becomes ripened, slowly it detaches from the tree. You understand? So you have to allow it to ripen. So they have to continue in the world. They have to be in the world. Let them do karma yoga. Let them be there. Or even if they are not doing karma yoga, if they are involved in karma, let it be. Slowly, when they go through all that and they run, gather everything and they lose, everybody will go through all these ups and downs. You know, if you live in life, you will be going through ups and downs. You will be going through profit and loss. Some point in time, you will say, "Yaar, ye kya hai?" Because I'm getting constant tapad, constantly getting beaten by the world, all the stuff. Then, at some point, you will wake up. Then you will think. Shastras will help you. Then you say, "Yaar, this is not real." So then, what is that reality? I should start seeking that. Set that as my goal. The priority should change. In other words, you continue doing the same thing like you were doing before. But the priority is different now. That's all. You will wake up, you will go for your walk, after studying, obviously. Go for your walk, you will eat, you will sleep, same thing you will do. Nothing is going to change. The priority is different. Earlier it was done for acquiring the world and enjoying it as an end in itself. Now that's not your priority. That priority changes. That's what he says. Then the goal should be sought. Parimargitam. Parimargam means that Brahma Vichara. You should put yourself into Brahma Vichara. Because what will give you absolute liberation? You are able to appreciate this, but you are not yet liberated fully. That can happen only with knowledge. So therefore, set that as your priority. Keep that as your goal. Let that become the center of your life. Then that should be sought. What happens when you reach that goal? What is the benefit? See, how much ever we say, don't think of the result, don't think of the result. Mind will say, Baba, ek baar bolo na. What is the benefit? I'm not asking for that. But, just like that. You will be interested in knowing the benefit. So it says the benefit is, whither having gone, they do not return again. There's no returning again. Having gone, there's no, in the sense, once you have reached that state of awareness, there is no question of you falling into this deep slumber, this delusion. Not possible. Till then, you are in delusion. Once you wake up, thereafter, you don't have the same kind of exaggerated value for these things anymore. You may be in it for transactional purpose. So he says, whither having gone, you do not return back. So even when you culturally evolve to a certain height, you can't fall back to that uncultured living. Impossible. Whether it's communication or whatever, is impossible. Not all possible. Once you've reached that level, if you've seen falling, means you first of all did not reach there. It's impossible to fall down, fall back. So, because this question comes, I have to get enlightened. What is the guarantee that I won't again get into samsara? There is no question of getting into samsara. Because once you get there, you understand that actually there was no samsara. You imagine the samsara. So, thereafter, in fact, you actually begin to live your life. You can actually call yourself being born again. It's a new birth actually. Such a person is actually taking a new birth. Because you actually start living only after that. As long as we are living consciously, then only you can call it as life, living. Otherwise, it's not living, it's existing. Like everything else is existing, we are also existing. Swami Ramtirtha, though he lived 32 years you can say, he lived. Swami Ramana Maharishi, Swami Adi Shankaracharya, Swami Vivekananda, all these great masters. Swami Vivekananda lived 39. Ramana Maharishi, 54 or something. And then Ramtirtha 32, Adi Shankaracharya 32, they say. Even though they lived such a small, short life, they lived complete life. We may aspire to live 100 years, and assuming that we are going to live 100 years, are we really living? How much of it is conscious? Once you become conscious, it is impossible to fall. You will become Akshuta. You will never fall again. There is no question of falling. Even in sleep, you will be conscious. Swami Ramtirtha story is there. There are stories in his life. Somebody who was staying with him and traveling with him everywhere. When Swami Ramtirtha was sleeping on a bed in the room, and this gentleman was sleeping on the floor, suddenly in the middle of the night, he says, he's hearing Ram, Ram, Ram. He's thinking, where is the sound coming from? Nobody there. Then he understood that it is the thought vibrations of Swami Ramtirtha, he says. Now, all this you may say, what is this all? There is a logic for this. See, when you go to bed with certain thoughts, you're not aware. If you notice, you'll wake up with those thoughts, which means what? It's been continuing in your subconscious while you're in sleep. That's why there is this principle called Zygarnik, I think, Zygarnik principle. The person's name was Zygarnik. He gives this technique to overcome procrastination, postponing. He says if something is very important and you have a tendency to procrastinate, you start that activity the previous night before going to bed. Do a little bit of it and leave it and go to bed. And the next day morning when you wake up, you'll wake up with the thought that I have to complete it. Then the whole night it'll be going on. That's why a lot of people, they're struggling to solve a mathematical problem and they couldn't. They tried their best, they couldn't, and then they slept the night. Suddenly in the middle of the night they may wake up and solve it, or morning when they wake up fresh, they get the solution. Now, what does it mean? Throughout night it has been continuing. That's what it means. That's why we say before going to bed, since you are tired physically, you won't be able to think and reflect. So therefore, instead of reading scriptures, read Puranas, etc. or listen to some bhakti songs or philosophical songs, etc. so that you put those things in your subconscious. And then when you wake up in the morning, you sit and read and reflect on the scriptures. So then you are also taking the support of your subconscious with you in progressing towards your goal. So therefore he says, once you have reached that level, 24/7, 365 days, you will be in that state of awareness. There is no question of falling down. It's impossible. That's what he says. Yad gatva nani vartanti bhuyaha. Again, there is no question of falling into this limitation. Meaning, you thereafter don't identify with this body, mind, intellect complex anymore. Once you have established your identification with Brahman consciousness, there is no way you're going to again come back and identify with this body, mind, intellect complex. Not possible. When Sudama, was told by his wife, we are in such poverty and you have a very close friend, Sri Krishna, why don't you go and ask him, please? He will give you. And he said, what a relief. He didn't want to ask. He was not lacking anything. If he lacks, only has to ask. No? There is nothing he is lacking. So, but he wanted little relief and he also thought, okay, good time to go and spend with my friend. So he said, okay, I'll go. And he came. When he came, see, he is first of all poor. But was he really poor? No, because he's thinking about his friend, what I can take for him. He's thinking about giving. So he's taking 3 handful of beaten rice. And that is what Sri Krishna loves the most. So he takes it. And when he goes and meets him in the palace, that very story is very, very inspiring. The gatekeeper, one fellow says, you want to meet Sri Krishna? You look so poor. How is it possible that you will know Krishna? Other fellow says, listen, that is none of our business. We'll go and tell him. Then if they say, let him in, we let him in. So when they go and tell, Sri Krishna comes running without chappal outside to, take his friend inside, hugs him and takes him inside. And then he's asking, what have you got for me? And he says, this is what I have got for you. He has not forgotten. They say he has forgotten. He's not forgotten because he never wanted to ask. How can he ask when he even did not have the feeling that he lacked anything? There is no question of asking. You will be asking only as long as you are lacking. So he didn't ask. He is feeling paripurna. And his whole life at the material level changed thereafter, the story says. So what I wanted to highlight here is that once you reach that level of paripurnatvam, that awareness, there is no question of falling down. Thereafter, everything you do, you'll do it with awareness. And when you do everything with awareness, nothing will be wrong. From the worldly sense, it may seem like wrong. Not possible. See, a person who is in deluded condition, in delusion, without any awareness, sitting and analyzing about the activities of a person who's reached that state of awareness is madness. We sit and analyze Lord Rama, why he sent Mother Sita to jungle, asked her to, do Agni Pravesh, and then killing Vali hiding behind the tree. As if we know everything, we start analyzing. So, strictly speaking, a person who is at that level, they don't fall. You don't use the word fall for them. You say they've come down. Coming down consciously is called avatara. Avatarati iti avatara. You understand? Those who come down consciously called avataras. So thereafter, one who is enlightened leads life consciously. That's why in Tamil Ramayana, Kamban says, Aduvum Nandri. Means that is also for good. You won't understand. It's impossible for you to understand. Because we are doing such things with negative motive. For them, there is no motive only. There is no motive to do. There is no motive not to do. करने का भी ना मन है, ना करने का भी no desire. Nothing. In that context, it has to be done. They do it and go for the welfare of the world. Welfare of the world also is not there in them as a desire. It's not a desire. You understand? Once a person has woken up to that level, thereafter it will always be for the good one. So that's what he says. Whither having gone, they do not return again. And then I seek refuge in that primeval Purusha. Tameva cha adyam Purusham prapadye. See, where are we taking refuge? Our refuge is in gold, silver, platinum, land. These are the things we have taken refuge. Constantly, this is what we are taking refuge in. Being in the world. Now, once I understand that this entire universe, when I stand apart and see, is a meaningless thing, is dependent on Brahman for its existence. Why should I depend on it? So I shift from this party called World Party to another party called Brahman Party. You understand? I shift my allegiance to Brahman. Thereafter, anything I do will be for that purpose only. That's called prapatti. I understand that whatever I am doing is not possible to be done without role played by divinity. And the result comes given by Ishvara as prasad according to my karma. All this I understand and I continue doing my actions. You understand? This is how once I set the goal, which having reached nobody comes out, that's my goal now, then what should I do? Complete refuge. This is in modern word, if you have to put it, professionalism. You are in that profession, everything should be for that. So that's what he's saying. I seek refuge in that primeval Purusha. Devotion it is. He's talking about that samarpana, sharanagati. Sharanagati means my gati is only that. All this I may associate with to help me to get there. That's all. If it is not going to help me to get there, I don't want it. What is the use of keeping such a thing? It is called taking refuge. Seeking refuge in that primeval Purusha, supreme being alone. You understand? Tameva chatyam Purusham prapadye. Then he says, Yatta pravritti prasrita purani. From that, his whole universe, the whole activity, the waking dream, everything has come out. See, the basis for our dream and waking world is vasanas. The deep sleep state, actually. In deep sleep state, when we are in, we experience nothing. We say it's a state of nothingness. But that state of nothingness is everythingness. Because that everything which is dream and waking state has come from that nothingness only. You understand? So the deep sleep state, which we call as a state of nothingness, is the cause from which this entire dream and waking state comes. And in deep sleep state, what are there? Vasanas and Brahman. Vasanas and Atma, nothing else. So, vasanas plus Atma is called deep sleep state. From that, the dream and waking state come about. That's the basis. What is vasanas? Ignorance of Brahman. You understand? So, all these activities have come from what? Ignorance of Brahman. Ignorance of Brahman cannot come if there is no Brahman existing. Therefore, who is the primeval source or cause of all these activities? Brahman only. That's what he said. That Brahman is the primeval cause, the root. So I completely shift my attention towards that. Then thereafter, whatever I do, eating, sleeping, breathing, drinking, playing, jo bhi hoga, for that purpose. This is what he said. I take refuge. Sharanagati. It's not like you go and touch it once in a while and then come back. It's like, in Tamil they say, Edhukum or Vanakam potu. Means, what it is worth, I'll just say hello to him also, no? That he'll also be in, or I will be in his good books. Not like that. You understand? Completely shifting, taking refuge. Meaning, your life's priority should change. It's very important here. So, what he's trying to say is, through Viveka, through understanding, you develop Vairagya. With Vairagya, you get into Brahma Vichara. You understand? And for Brahma Vichara, you should completely be dedicated. If you have not taken refuge, it's difficult. And then he's going to say, you have to therefore develop some good qualities, sadgunas. But with sadgunas, with satsanga, you do Brahma Vichara using the Shastra, getting closer to a Guru. That then slowly, this knowledge will start, getting established in us. Then we will establish ourselves in that Brahman, that goal. See, the thing is, when we say goal, it's not like getting, there is not it's not like you have to attain that goal. Get to that goal. What is this? You are already Brahman. It is just that you do not know that now. That's what the Shastras are saying. So there is nothing to attain. There is only something to know, realize, get enlightened. So for that to happen, you have to facilitate. Today what is happening is, you've done so many things which are preventing from that to happen. That's the thing. So in the path of spirituality, there is nothing to gain or attain. There is only everything to drop or lose. Please understand this. In the path of spirituality, there is nothing to gain or attain, because you have already attained, you are already that. You have already gained everything. You are that paripurna. That's the whole premise. So then, these conditionings, these wrong understandings, all this has to go. If that has to go, if you continue living your lifestyle the same way you've been living before, gossiping and doing this and that constantly, how will this go in? Very difficult. At least before coming to this class, for some time, if you were not doing all that, in the class you'll be able to focus. So, therefore, you need to make sure that you don't have rajasic or tamasic lifestyle. So, seeking refuge. This is what seeking refuge means. Thereafter, you seek refuge in Ishvara. Then from Ishvara, it goes to Brahman. First, it will be world. Now, for us, everything is world only now. In fact, slowly, it will go to Shastras and scriptures. And then it will go to Manana. Book also, no problem. So that is what he means by saying Prapatti. So in Vaishnava Sampradaya, Prapatti is very, very important. They talk about it a lot. They give a lot of importance to it, Prapatti. Now, throughout the body, they have, this Vibhuti or Nama and all that. And they have even put it permanently there. What it means is, you can put many things, like in my, like kurta also, I can put home everywhere if I want. But in my head, if I'm thinking of home, not home, that is not Prapatti. You understand? So, that in that sense, hereafter, my life is dedicated for that Ishvara, that Lord, that Brahman. That's it. Nothing else. Anything that comes in between, I say bye-bye. If things are not going to come in between, it's okay, no problem. That is what is called Prapatti. I seek refuge in that primeval Purusha, supreme being. Amevacha adyam purusham prapadye. Yatta pravritti prasrita purani. So, from this external stuff, now I have gone into the deeper root, which is unmanifest. So, my priority has shifted from the fruits to the root. That's all it is. When the root is taken care of, fruits will be taken care of. So if the fruits have not come, means I have to still take care of the root more. Continue doing something. I don't even think of getting qualified. That level of surrender. That's what he means. This bhakti has to be there. See, it's not possible to achieve anything without that devotion. You may have skill, you may have intelligence, but you need the devotion. The devotion, when you apply yourself, then you will succeed. You understand? So that's what he says. I seek refuge in that primeval Purusha, supreme being. You need to have that devotion with which you pursue. Then you will get back to Brahman, and like he says, you will thereafter no question of falling back. In your life, each and every aspect of your life, you start leading consciously. Swamiji gives a very nice story in the book Vedanta Treatise. It talks about a kingdom in which there was a huge deluge. So the king and the king said, at least let my just born son escape. He gave the child to the minister and said, somehow make sure that the child escapes. So the minister did something and the child escaped, and minister didn't know where the child has gone, but he knows child is safe. And the child is, the whole thing subsided. King and the queen, everybody died. Minister escaped. So minister was ruling the kingdom, constantly trying to find the prince so that he can coronate him. They couldn't. But one day they found out. They found out that this fellow is there on the streets begging. There was a tattoo on his biceps. From that they found out this guy is the prince. And then he was forcefully brought to the kingdom. And they said, okay, we are coronating you. You are the king now. He said, they are doing something with me. And he is very uncomfortable with all those facilities. He's been sleeping on the roadside. He needs the, sounds, lorry sound and this sound and that sound. Kuch bhi nahi aa raha. So he quietly escaped and went away. Again they caught him and brought him. And after a few days he understood. Now he disguises himself as a beggar and goes back and begs. But the difference is what? Earlier when he was begging, he was not aware that he's the king. Now he's begging with awareness that he's the king. You understand? So this is what he says. You will thereafter live like a master, like a king. There is no question of falling down. Let's conclude. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.